Before we get into it, if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that.
All right, folks, here we are on Friday, February 14th. We're going to take a look at ACHR today. So ACHR is getting pretty interesting again. As we see it rushed up here to 1248 on the high of this day, drew back all the way down to, I guess this was the low here of $8 even. And so obviously percentage-wise, really big range, but it did find some support along this 838 that we had on the chart, and then it moved up through and tested that 1040, but came right back down and consolidated along that 899 level that we had, and then today is just putting in a candle sort of smack dab in between these nearest in levels that we have in the chart. It came within a penny of this 943 level and hit the 1040 right on the dot. So the levels are holding up tremendously well, and ACHR looks like to me that it might be gearing up for another leg. We'll see if that can persist or how that takes shape. There's something of a potential here. I don't want to put this on because the chart already feels a bit cluttered, but let me just show. There's something here taking a pretty distinct upward support level. Putting this in, it's confirming it pretty consistently, and it still is within range there. So I don't know if something there will set it off, or maybe we get an inside bar, right? Like an inside day, mother bar and inside bar. That could be sort of a good trigger, good potential for a next leg up, but we'll see. If it does get zoomy, it would leave that 1040 behind. Obviously, we have 1116, 1182, 1268. That's where it couldn't reach on the last swing high of 1248. But above that, we have 1337. I don't think we stretched beyond that. Oh, we do. We have 1414 on the chart above that. So I know that feels forever away percentage-wise, but like I said, it did move from 1248 down to $8 flat in about, what was that, like 7 trading days or something. So I know that they say stairs up, elevator down, and that's very much indicative of that, but it could get real jumpy real quick, right? This came from 285 in October of 2024. So to run from, say, $3 to $12 over the course of 3 months, yeah, that's crazy. So it has the potential, it has the boostability. We'll see if that's what it's doing, if it's gearing up for another run. EMAs wise, we see even though it took that hard hit down here to 8, it was able to wrestle with the 34 EMA, tried to move off of it, came right back down and consolidated along the 34, that red 34 EMA, and is now putting in candles that are above the leaving the 34 behind as support, adjusting to the 21 for support. At least I know I'm going off of one candle here, but it's where you try to like catch the jump, right? And then it either busts quick or it turns out in your favor, kind of leaving no room there. But if you do take these sort of like either booms or busts, you gotta be strict on your trading plan, and you have to get out. If you have a loss, you have to get out when your exit says it's time to get out. So whatever the trigger is, for me, in this instance, it would probably be this, whatever you want to call this orange-ish 21 EMA, that crossing below the 34, that would, in this situation, probably be my sell trigger, my personal one, whatever yours is. My point is not to name what the trigger is, it's just say have a trigger, and if the trade goes against you, it goes against you. Live to fight another day, regroup, and try again. It doesn't mean that your synthesis was bust, right? Your hypothesis was whack. It just means that nothing is 100%, right? So you can have something that would have worked 60% of the time or 80% of the time, and it just didn't this time, right? And that's okay. So But yeah, it's looking like it has the potential to me. So we'll see how it plays out. Of course, there are wild macro forces in effect, and that could always throw things askew. So don't discount that for sure. Now, if we look where that run up from about $3 to 12, these are where the shelves are, and so it's accumulating and moving right off of the shelf right now. So it's getting into thin territory up here, right? This 10 1020s or so, that's where the volume gets thinner, and the shelving, it leaves the shelving behind. But to me, again, that appears as though it leaves ample opportunity for motion, right? It's similar to what we would have seen back here, where we had some shelving down here, thinner up here, and we saw motion. It's not as pronounced because there's more volume put in this range with what we're seeing at the moment, but similar qualities and similar perspective. Order flows wise, actually I hadn't checked this before. Some large scale coming out today, so maybe some folks locking in profit, large scale order wise. Who knows? In terms of if it is going to get jumpy, there are still over 90% of shares profitable. So says Webull. And if that's the case, I do sometimes just toss out the question, where's the buy volume going to come from? It's going to be people dollar cost averaging up? Logically, you would tend to think not, but people have insane capabilities to chase, so maybe. But also, could you just get a next rush of folks? There is definitely propensity for large scale orders to come in and out, so could come from there. But yeah, it could be pretty interesting. Short sellers seemingly peeling off a little bit. I took a look at the numbers on iBorrowDesk. Nothing jumped out to me that seemed like it was crazy pressure from the shorts, and they're not holding for very long down here. You see that this was really high up here. That's crazy. 15 days. But yeah, it's for now it doesn't seem to be getting out of hand, at least from what I can see on iBorrowDesk. Everything seems pretty minimal. But yeah, this EMA situation, pretty nice looking to me, and the way that it's evolving off of the levels, transitioning from this 899 consolidation, securing through that 943, and then immediately trying to push to that 1040 as it did on this candle, It's finding resistance there at the moment, sure, but it's showing capacity to continue to push back to it. And at some point, you would look at it and say, okay, the folks that are looking to sell at that 1040 level, we got to exhaust them at some point, right? At some point, you're going to push it up there, and the sellers are going to already have sold, and you're going to be able to move through it. So if it can continue to put pressure on, it looks promising to me. But who knows? We'll see. Now, here's the other interesting thing. Thinkorswim-wise, it's triggering on the TTM squeeze indicator at the moment, and it's starting to get a little bumpy over the call trigger. So if it did want to play it out like we saw here, right? It played out to that full +1 ATR as it did back here, ran well through it, obviously, here in November, but it ran right to it in December, right to it in January. It's back at that call trigger level right now, and that call trigger is at 987, and that +1 is at 1165. So, not huge range, but it has shown the ability to run through it before, especially on the backs of a TTM squeeze trigger and fire, right? This trigger and fire happened just as it was getting motion over the call trigger. Not to say it has to follow that exact pattern again, but much of charting is looking for patterns, right? And so here it is again, firing, and then starts to trigger here. And then as it starts to get pressure on that call trigger, that trigger is happening on the TTM squeeze indicator. Do we get a fire? And does it set off some motion? That could be certainly quite interesting. Wonder why my scanner's not scanning. Okay. Take a look at that another time. All right, folks, I hope that you had a nice trading week and that you enjoy your weekend. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.